All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. ALCS game number 5, bottom of the 4th inning. Houston has a 1-0 lead over the Rangers. That series, of course, is tied at 2 games apiece. Game 4 of the NLCS, Phillies D-backs later tonight. Phillies still have a 2-1 series lead there. And tomorrow night, the Aztecs return home to take on Nevada at Snapdragon Stadium. 6 p.m. kickoff, 4 p.m. pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. What's going on, San Diego? Friday on Jon and Jim. And you're probably wondering, wait, why is Jim opening the show today? There was no heads up that it would just be Jim today. There was no heads up that Jon potentially was going to be gone. Well, I've gotten the okay from Jon to tell you where he's at. Jon's currently at the hospital. Everything's fine. He's okay. Don't worry. Everything's okay. But he texted me at 2:02, so an hour ago. And he says I can say this. It's fine. He's like, dude, I think I'm having a heart attack, but Kristen's making fun of me. I'm like, wait, what? And to me, I'm thinking to myself, all right, Jon's joking around. Like, what are you talking about? If Kristen, his wife, is making fun of him, he's okay. And then he follows that up with, I'm going to urgent care. So Jon's now at urgent care, and he has sent me multiple pictures of him in urgent care to show me that he's actually at the hospital. And I just said, suck it up, be a man.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. Heart attack? Nah, dude, suck it up, be a man. But in all seriousness, we hope Jon's okay. Hopefully he's back. He says he's going to come back potentially today. He's just one of those like, something's wrong with me. I got to go to the hospital and see if I'm okay.
Probably had to burp.
He probably drank too many Celsiuses, and he had this like inside of his stomach. And he's like, oh no, I think I'm dying. And then I need to go to the hospital because I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac.
Well, and he's not used to drinking caffeine. And now he's like drinking caffeine. So
right. He has joined the YouTube live chat, by the way. If you have not joined us on YouTube before, we are streaming on YouTube every day at Jon and Jim 760. Also, make sure if you can't go there, listen to us on the iHeartRadio app. Best way to listen to us anywhere you go. Or, of course, on the radio, 760 AM. But Jon says hi. He says he's okay. He says he's alive. So hopefully after Jon is, done at the hospital and gets his little lollipop and gets a little Band-Aid on whatever boo-boo he has.
Yeah, I want a lollipop. Bring me one.
Yeah, if you get lollipops, bring them to me and Brent. Hopefully he'll be back later in the show. But we're going to start today with Andrew Baggarly, who we've talked about as recently as earlier this week on this show. He covers the Giants. He has covered the Giants for well over a decade. And he works for The Athletic, of course. He's tied into baseball circles and especially everything that's going on with the Giants. I feel like if you want to know any information with the San Francisco Giants, the first person you would go to would be him. Kind of like with the Padres, the first person you would go to, depending on your preference, would either be Kevin or Dennis. Like those are the two guys that you would go to for Padres news. For Giants news, you go to Andrew Baggarly. You're probably thinking to yourself, why are you talking about Andrew Baggarly? What does that have to do with anything? Well, this morning, he tweets out an article, and it was initially about Like the headline here, I pull this up here. The headline says, with Bob Melvin's uncertain status hovering over the Giants' managerial search. Full stop, I'm in. You've got my attention. When you say uncertainty with Bob Melvin, managerial search, San Francisco Giants, I'm in. I'm officially hooked. So I click on the link, and for like 4.5 paragraphs, it has nothing to do with Bob Melvin. It's all about Japanese players and what the Giants might do with signing players and a couple other candidates for their managerial position. And I'm like, okay, get to Bob Melvin. So after about, 4 or 5 paragraphs here, Andrew Baggerly writes, then there's the potential candidate looming over everything. San Diego Padres manager Bob Melvin. I thought he was coming back, right? He's 100% coming back. They said it. That's why we have been saying there's still a little bit of a sliver, a door, like it's slightly cracked. If you crack this door right here, Brent, you can hear outside. It doesn't look like it's open, but it's a little bit of a crack. You're getting something from the outside. I feel like this situation with Bob Melvin and the Giants, there's a little crack there because of everything that we've heard. And Andrew Bagley continues to write, even though Padres owner Peter Seidler expressed confidence in the management team and Padres GM AJ Preller said on October 4th that both he and Melvin would return next season, it's not a guarantee. It's not a carefully guarded secret within the industry that there's more bubbling underneath the surface. All right. That is something we know, but hey, Bob Melvin's coming back, right? In their comprehensive story, now he's referring to the Dennis Lin and Ken Rosenthal story, and the quote in the story about how this relationship between Bob and AJ is unfixable. Andrew then writes, it's expected that Bob Melvin would be open to the opportunity to interview with the Giants and return to the Bay Area where he managed the Oakland A's for 11 seasons if the Padres permit him to do so. So do you all think that Bob Melvin's 100% coming back? Or are you going to acknowledge the fact that there's still a possibility, whether it be the smallest of small possibilities that you could imagine, but it's still a possibility that things could change here? And if the Giants call the Padres, what are the Padres going to say? Are the Padres going to be on the side of, yeah, no, we're not allowing that? Or are they going to give Bob Melvin an opportunity if the Giants come calling and say, hey, would you give us the opportunity to interview Bob Melvin here? I feel like if that happens, Brent, if the Giants end up calling the Padres and ask for permission to interview Bob Melvin, at that point in time, I feel like he's all but gone.
It depends, because maybe when they said that he's coming back, they weren't specific enough, and they were just like, no, he's coming back, because whether he wants to or not, because, if whoever wants to talk to him, we're not going to let them talk to him. We're just going to say no, which will make it interesting when the season starts. I'm sure they'll piss Melvin off, but I don't think they really care at this point. So I could see them saying no and just being like, no, because we don't, you're a division rival. We don't want him going there, and just been, no, we're just not going to allow it.
I guess
unless they really want to get rid of him and they didn't want to say, out front that they wanted to get rid of him.
That's the one place though, that until that position is filled with somebody other than Bob Melvin, that is why everybody that is looking at this kind of rationally, instead of like, oh no, he's 100% coming back. Like, hey, I mean, guys, the end of the year optics here looked horrible. The reports, like unfixable relationship, that, come on, guys, you can't sit there and think that everything is 100% fine. It was maybe a case of you had Peter Seidler say, look, you guys figure this out. Or it's a case where like they're waiting until the Giants potentially do call. I don't know, but I do feel like it is not a 100% absolute concrete certainty that Bob Melvin will return next year. I do think I do think it's like around 95, 99%. Like it's a very high up there possibility that does return. And I hope he does return too. I hope Bob returns. I want him back as the manager of the Padres. I would hate it if he left here, and it would feel like history is repeating itself if he went from the Padres to the Giants. Interesting. That would just be a disaster after everything that's happened at the end of the year and everything that was said. It would be the worst look absolutely possible on this franchise if you immediately at the end of the year say that AJ Preller and Bob Melvin are returning, and then a month later, Bob Melvin's interviewing for the Giants at managerial job.
Well, I think the plan is that they want Bob to come back, but plans change.
Everything changes,
So,
Brent.
Like I said, it depends on if they really want to keep him to where they're just like, no, it's San Francisco, get out of here. We don't want you. You can't talk to him. Or they're going to go, look, we kind of wanted to get rid of him anyways, but we didn't want to, we wanted to get out of his last year of his contract.
Mhm.
This would be our one opportunity that we could get out of it probably, and we should take it. So I don't know. I'm kind of one of those people that, I'll believe Melvin's still the manager of this team when pitchers and catchers report and he's sitting in the dugout trying to talk over that leaf blower like last year.
I'll believe it once the Giants hire their manager and it's not Bob Melvin. Because that to me is the clear runaway favorite as far as Bob Melvin, like the threat to take Bob Melvin away is the San Francisco Giants. I don't believe that the Mets are a threat. I don't believe the Guardians are a threat. I don't believe the Brewers, depending on if they're bringing back Craig Counsell or not, are a threat.
Doesn't sound like they're going to.
It feels like the only threat here to really throw a giant wrench into this whole thing is the San Francisco Giants. And especially when you hear from Andrew Baggarly, like Andrew Baggarly is dialed into that organization. He has been covering that team for well over a decade. And when he says it is expected that Bob Melvin would be open to the opportunity to interview with the Giants, and you also have to look at where Andrew Baggarly is at in the Bay Area. Where is Bob Melvin forever? In the Bay Area. You don't think that Bob still has ties to reporters and media members still in the Bay Area that also have ties with Andrew Baggarly because he's in the Bay Area too? Like everybody talks. So it would not have surprised me if somebody in the Bay Area that covered Bob Melvin forever gave this little nugget to Andrew Baggarly, and then Andrew Baggarly, with reporting that he's done, goes and talks to the Giants and finds out that they do have a preference of Bob Melvin as well. And that's why they haven't started their final process of hiring managers yet. They've interviewed a couple people, but maybe they're waiting to see after the World Series or whenever the case may be, if they could swoop in and potentially take away Bob from the Padres. I think there is more here than not. I really do. And we actually reached out to Andrew Baggarly today to come on the show. We reached out to him. Well, John did. John reached out to Andrew Baggarly and he asked him to come on the show to talk about, this piece. And Andrew said, look, I'm still reporting on this. Like, this is still something that is an active report. So unfortunately at this time, I can't come on. So that to me also tells me and lends me to believe
there's more going on.
There's more going on, or he's waiting for something. And who knows? Maybe, like you said, Brent, maybe, things change all the time. Maybe this is something where Bob maybe talks to some people and says, actually, you know what? After thinking about it for a while, I don't want to go to the Giants. I want to stay here. Like, maybe it changes. Maybe it doesn't. Things can change. I think people forget that a lot, that feelings can change. Sports takes can change. A lot of things can change. When you are dating somebody and you fall in love with them, guess what? You can fall out of love with that person. You don't have to be in love with that person forever. You know why? Because things change. If nothing changed in this world, it would suck. Because that is what everything is about. The change that could happen over a certain period of time could lead Bob Melvin to go to the Giants. Do I think that's going to happen? Would I put the betting odds that Bob Melvin's going to be the next manager of the San Francisco Giants next year? I would not. But I also wouldn't discredit this and give it no credence and think to myself that there is no way in hell that Bob Melvin could be the manager of the Giants. Because I don't think there is this zero path. I do think there's a path. It's just dependent on if Bob changes his mind or if the Giants call the Padres. Like, that is where we're at right now, I feel like. We are at a point in time where it's being reported that Bob Melvin is expected, if the Giants come calling, he'll be open to an opportunity to go to the Giants. That's being reported as of right now. Is it something that Padres fans should be worried about? I think yeah, a little bit. I would be worried. I'm worried about it. I'm sitting here. I don't feel super confident when not only do you get this report, this is the second report this week mentioning Bob Melvin to the San Francisco Giants. You can't tell me something's not there. You just can't. I don't believe that to be true. I believe that there is something there, whether it be this huge thing or not. It's still something. I want him back. I want Bob back. I know a lot of people want Bob back. Do I think he's coming back? Yes, I do. But I see things like this. I'm thinking to myself, that's not good.
Well, who would San Francisco's other options be? If they're waiting for the World Series to get done, it's not like they're waiting for old ass Dusty Baker to come out and hire him again.
I don't know who the options would be for the Giants. But when I see reports by somebody who works for The Athletic, who has covered the Giants for well over a decade plus in the Bay Area, linking Bob Melvin 2 times to the Giants, saying that it's expected that Bob Melvin would be open to an opportunity to interview with the Giants. If he gets an interview, if the Giants come calling and Bob agrees and the Padres agree to let Bob interview for the Giants, he is all but gone. In my eyes.
He's not going to interview if he's not going to leave. What's the
no
point?
chance. That would be such a horrible look if the Padres granted the Giants an opportunity to interview Bob Melvin, and then Bob's like, actually, you know what? I'm good. I'm coming back. Could you imagine that? Like, what are you doing, dude? You're under contract for next year. It would be a disaster if at the end of the season, what we heard and saw from this franchise, and then a month later, Bob's interviewing for the Giants job, bruh. Not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think the longer it takes the more likely that if he leaves, he's going to leave, because the farther we get out from their little kumbaya moment that they apparently had.
Oh, I know. Everyone's like, oh, everybody's fine. Everything's good. Don't worry about anything.
Everything's good for now, but that doesn't mean that, a month from now it's going to be fine. So I don't know. You never know with this franchise anymore what's going to go on. Whenever you think you got them figured out, they go and do the opposite thing.
That's what Dennis Lin said at the end of the year, and he summarized it perfectly. It's an uneasy truce. A little tiny crack could crumble everything. And that little tiny crack could be the Giants just picking up the phone and calling the Padres. Because right now, the Padres, I think, are under the assumption that everything's going to be the same next year as far as like Bob returning and AJ returning. And if the Giants call, then I think they're going to go to Bob. And if Bob says, yeah, I want to interview for that, and they give him an opportunity and they give him the chance to do it, then he's gone. But I do think, and I do believe, after all of this, I do believe that he will return. I just don't think it's a full 100% for me until I see the Giants hire a manager. Once the Giants hire a manager, whoever that is, and it's not Bob Melvin, then I'll like almost have a sigh of relief. And I think a lot of Padres fans will have a sigh of relief as well, thinking like, okay, don't have to worry about that anymore. He's going to return. He's not going. I don't see him going to Cleveland or anywhere else. I don't see any of those teams doing that. And then once every other team hires a manager and Bob is still the Padres manager, then it's like, okay, we're good here. No worries. Bob's returning next season. But it's still interesting. it's still interesting to see these reports and say and hear from somebody who's covered the Giants as well over a decade, been in the Bay Area for well over a decade, been around people that have known Bob. And for him to say it's expected that Melvin would be open to the opportunity to interview with the Giants, that's not something you'd want to hear if you're a Padres fan. Not at all.
Not unless you're a Melvin hater.
Unless you hate Melvin, then yeah, of course, get him the F out of town. But I am not a Melvin hater. I want Melvin to return. I think Bob Melvin is the right manager for this team. I have always been on the side that it's the GMs that's the problem, not the manager. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, coming up on today's show, we'll see if Jon returns. Who knows? But in the meantime, me and Brent, we're going to hold down the fort. Coming up next, more out of The Athletic today, this time from Dennis Lynn. Xander Bogaerts' new position? We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, coming up next, Xander Bogaerts, different position next year. We'll talk about that coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. ALCS game number 5 with the series tied at 2 games apiece. Astros and Rangers, they're tied at 1, heading to the top of the 6th inning there in Texas, Arlington, excuse me. Phillies, D-backs, game number 4 later tonight in Arizona. Phillies still have a 2-1 series lead there as the D-backs crawled back into that series with a walk-off win yesterday. And the Aztecs, they return back to Snapdragon Stadium tomorrow night versus Nevada. 6 p.m. kick, 4 p.m. pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. All right, Jon and Jim on a Friday. Jim and Brent holding down the fort until Jon potentially returns. And more from the Athletic today. You know, it was a busy day at the Athletic, Brent. Very busy day. You had a Dennis Lin piece drop this morning. You had the Andrew Baggerly piece drop with Bob Melvin's name mentioned in there. And the Dennis Lin article was talking primarily about Xander Bogaerts. And we heard this from Kevin at the end of the season, that there is this potential discussion coming for Xander Bogaerts to be moved from shortstop to first base because their options at first base are not good.
Well, obviously, if he's one of them.
You have Jake Cronenworth, who, I mean, let's be real here. He's not a first baseman. His production level that he's giving you is nowhere close to what you need from a first baseman.
And he was an experiment. They tried it and it was okay, but you know, they can do better.
Like he filled in.
He was fine.
Beautifully in 2020 when Eric Hosmer missed a bunch of games because he had bubble guts. And because of that, they viewed him as a guy that could play first base for 140 games. And it didn't work out. It just didn't. His production every single year has gone down. They need an upgrade at that position, but yet they still gave him an $80 million contract. Why? I don't know. Could he have a bounce back year next year? Of course. Anybody can have a bounce back year. Manny Machado could win MVP next season. But the trajectory of what Jake Cronenworth is and has been on a downward path. It's not been good. So they need to have an upgrade. And the possibility of that upgrade coming from within is, well, who's that going to be? Xander Bogaerts? Xander Bogaerts is your guy? I just think in a year number 2 of an 11-year deal, you sign Xander to be a shortstop. And now you're going to put him in a position that, by the way, he's never played in his entire baseball career. Not one time has Xander Bogaerts professionally at any level played first base. And now you're going to move him to first base potentially. I'm not saying it's going to 100% happen, but I wouldn't doubt that we're going to see Xander at first base sometimes next year.
I'm not really worried about him defensively at first. You know, if you play shortstop, typically you're a good defender and you have quick reflexes. So I think he would be okay playing the other hot corner. My thing would just be the offensive production is not what it's supposed to be for the first baseman. He doesn't hit enough home runs. He doesn't hit enough, get enough RBIs. It's just, he doesn't produce enough offensively for a first baseman. Defensively, like I said, I think he'll be fine. There'll be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think he'll get it figured out. And it's not like, I remember last offseason, there's a couple of people like, I'll move Tatis first. And we're like, no, because it's a waste of his athleticism. Was there really any time this year where you're just like, oh, wow, look at that Xander Bogaerts defensive play. We need him at shortstop. Where it's like, no, if it works out and he can play it, then I guess, but I think we should explore other options.
Xander Bogaerts played a fine shortstop this year. He was fine. He wasn't anything special and he wasn't bad. He got the job done. He didn't cost the team many times at shortstop defensively. I thought he played fine at shortstop. Is he a better shortstop than Ha-Seong Kim? No chance. None. Ha-Seong Kim's their best shortstop, their best second baseman, and potentially their best third baseman. Like he is one of the best defensive players in all of baseball. Such a luxury to have Ha-Seong Kim because you can put him at any position and you feel 100% comfortable with it. I don't feel that way with Xander. You put him at first, a place that he's never played before, a guy who was never a Gold Glove shortstop, never going to be this out of this world defensive player, and put him at first base with the production that he gives you. It's not what you want from your first baseman. And another thing in this article, and this kind of happened at the beginning of last year too, and I don't particularly like it because this is a problem with the team. There's a lot of me's instead of we's. There's a lot of, well, I don't want to do this instead of what can I do to help the team? And in Dennis's article, he says Bogaerts, if he must move to the right side of the infield, would prefer second base over first base. All right. So if they're asking you to help the team out and move to first base, but you're pushing back on that, that is, I do feel like a little bit of the root of the problems with this team is, do I think Xander at first base makes sense? No, I don't. But I'd be much more okay with it if they presented the opportunity to Xander, hey, we have an idea. Would you possibly move to first base? And Xander replies with anything for the team. I would feel way better about that than hearing things like, I don't know, I don't prefer that. I prefer to do this instead of that. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to hit second. I want to hit fifth.
I would prefer just something productive opposed to, look, we need you to play first, and go, oh, well, I don't want to move to first, but what about second? It's like, we didn't say we needed you at second.
No.
What is switching Kim back to short and putting you at second? That's not going to solve our first base problem.
No.
That's why we want to put you at first base. Oh, I'll play second. No.
That is right there the issues with this team. You have players that when asked to do something, they're like, nah, I don't want to do it. And it's not from the low end guys that are trying to fight and claw to just be out there and play anywhere possible.
If they say no, they'll get cut.
Like you heard it from Xander and Soto in particular. Those two guys last year, they were very outspoken about where they hit in the lineup. You had Soto hitting second for a long time, and he's like, no, I like hitting in the 3-hole. Bogaerts was hitting in the 5th hole. They moved into the leadoff spot, and he's like, I prefer not to hit the second. I prefer to hit this, that. That is the thing with this team is you need to have guys that are open and willing to do anything, even if the ask is a stupid ask. Like, even if they ask Xander Bogaerts, hey, can you play center field? Like, obviously, sure. I would not want Xander to play center field, but if the response from Xander is anything for the team, I am here to help the team out, win any way possible. That's the type of answers I want to hear.
Well, that was the one thing, a couple of things. That was one of the things I loved about Will Myers was no matter, it was like, oh, you're a first baseman. Well, we need you to play left field. Okay, I'll go play left field. Okay, we need you to play right field today. Okay, I'll do that.
We need to play third base.
I was just gonna say, hey, can you try third base a couple of games? We know you haven't played it, but just try it out.
That was a disaster.
But to his credit, he said, sure.
Yep.
He didn't go, well, I'd rather play, shortstop. We didn't ask you if you would play shortstop. We asked this.
Like, hey, can you play first base? I'd rather play second base.
So yeah, I wish we had a little more Will Myers attitude with some of this stuff to where it's just like, look, it's not like we're asking you to permanently move there. We just want to try it out and see what it looks like because we don't have a lot of other options.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, there's two sides to this. It goes back to AJ Preller not knowing how to build a cohesive roster, putting a bunch of talented players on a roster and thinking that he can just put these guys here and here, and it does not fit. The puzzle does not get put together correctly.
Well, because you've been given a grocery list for spaghetti, but you don't buy pasta, and you still think that you can make spaghetti.
So we can use this to make pasta instead.
Yeah, it's like we'll find something else. We'll find a substitute for pasta. It's like, okay, but it's still not going to be spaghetti, and it's not going to be as good.
So, look, Xander Bogaerts, that is something that I would keep an eye on. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, the money aspect of this team this offseason, because it doesn't feel like they're going to have a bunch of money to spend. And because of that, they're going to have to probably do things that are out of the box thinking. Like, hey, can Xander play first base? Because we don't have enough money to go out to get a viable first baseman, and we spent $280 million on a shortstop. Like, that's the problems with this team. And you wonder why I give so much crap to AJ Preller is stuff like this. It's when you sign a guy a $280 million contract to be your shortstop, and then a year after you do that, you ask him to play first base. Yeah. Okay. Tell me that Preller isn't part of the problem here, or Preller is not the problem. Like, come on, give me a break. The roster construction has always been a problem. And if Xander plays first next year, that's all the evidence I need. All right. Coming up next, we talked a lot yesterday about the crest for SDFC, and this thing has now gone international. You'll hear what people had to say about this crest worldwide. This is not just local anymore. This is a worldwide topic. You'll hear that coming up next. San Diego FC's crest has now gone worldwide as far as critiquing goes. You'll hear what people are saying about it coming up next.
Windmill Farms, the college area's natural grocer, features organic farm fresh produce and meats, an amazing craft beer selection, a full deli with award-winning sandwiches, and a nutrition section that is second to none. Centrally located off Del Cerro Boulevard, across the freeway from Montezuma Mesa, Windmill Farms is your family-owned market serving the San Diego area for 20 years. Visit windmillfarmsmarket.com to see their weekly specials, or check them out on Instacart and have your groceries delivered to your doorstep. Shop local. Shop at Windmill Farms.
So yesterday, the SDFC crest logo got leaked. Today, they're officially announcing it. Not going to be much of a surprise to anybody.
Surprise, it still sucks.
Surprise, it's still not great at all. The more I look at it, the more I'm disappointed. Like, when the worst thing to hear from somebody is, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed in this. Like, I feel bad, because I do think the hardcore soccer fan, ride or die, no matter what, this doesn't matter to them. And that's fine, because it's more about the soccer team than it is about the look and the crest and the everything. It's about, hey, we're going to support no matter what. The problem is the casual fan. Because if you're starting up a franchise, you already have the diehards built in. You don't have to do much to convince the diehards to show up, to cheer, to buy the gear, all that, right? It's about what can you do to attract the casual fan to your sport, to your team, to buy your gear. Like, that's who you have to target. And I feel like they didn't get it at all. The casual fan wanted something cool. They wanted something like that was relatable. They wanted something San Diego, and this is completely not it.
And it was something that didn't really catch your attention. If I was walking through the mall and I saw a shirt that just had that logo on it, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's kind of cool. What's that? I just kind of look at it and then look away right away, because it doesn't stand out.
It doesn't stand out to me at all.
There's no color. There's no anything that just makes it pop.
Last night,
say what you want about like the Padres City Connect jerseys, but at least the
pop.
colors pop. So
they pop.
Like, they stick out, so you notice them. Whether you like them or not, that's another issue. But they at least pop and you notice them.
Oh yes, they definitely pop. And I don't particularly love the City Connect, but I respect them because of what they were trying to do and what they accomplished. And I think who they were going for, right? They were going for a different crowd, and they absolutely attracted that crowd to the Padres and to buying their jerseys. And that's what they did. Like, they focused on a crowd and a group of people that maybe weren't like diehard Padres fans. And they wanted to bring them in and give them something cool to represent the Padres with. And that's exactly what the Padres did. They knew that. And I think they accomplished that in a huge way. This, the more I look at it, I'm like, what were they thinking? Like Brent, you know more about movies than anybody I have ever known. You know the logo of the RoboCop, like, police force?
Yeah.
The OGP or the OCP?
That's OCP.
OCP?
That's close. Yeah.
That this logo is exactly like
It's very similar to
that logo.
Yeah, it's similar to the old there's an old movie production company called Carlico that I'm probably not saying it right, but Stallone, a lot of his movies were on that brand, and they had a similar logo too. So
it's again, if you're I don't know what they're trying to do. I know Darren's been talking about, like, hey, look, guys, what you want them to do as far as embrace San Diego and be full on San Diego is not something that they're about. They're about other things. Like, their goal is not about being and embracing fully everything San Diego. Yes, they're obviously including San Diego, but they're trying to be something bigger than that. When I think to myself, you might want to start with San Diego first before you try to go big here.
yeah,
You might want to, like, I don't know, cater to the city and the fan base and make sure that they feel important.
crawl before you walk.
I don't know if this did that at all. I'm sure there's people out there that kind of like it, but everywhere, Brent, this has been universally bashed, and it's not just by people in San Diego. It's like nationally. You're seeing people that don't even live in San Diego. I saw the other, like, baseball people are tweeting about this the other day, saying how horrible this is. This has become like a national thing on a huge global level. To today, a European soccer show. I think it's a European soccer show. I'm not quite sure. When I've been, like, on, I don't know what it is, but they were talking about news stories in the world of soccer. And at the very end of their sports hit, the sportscaster, she mentions the SDFC new crest. I want you to just listen very carefully to the background. There's somebody in the background, all right? Whoever, like, the panelist is or whatever. Listen very closely when she mentions the SDFC crest, because they show it on the television screen. Take a listen.
And in MLS news, the San Diego expansion team is set to begin play in 2025. They'll unveil their name and logo at an event tonight, and The Athletic has provided this early look at the team's logo and club name. The club name will reportedly be San Diego FC, and this is the logo, which I'm sure you all have some thoughts on.
Okay, if you didn't hear that.
I think it was Alexi Lawless.
Alexi Lawless? Okay, that makes a lot of sense then. This was on CBS Sports Golazo. It's home of, like, soccer. All right, on CBS. Alexi Lawless, that makes sense. And the second that she announces the SDFC logo, like, you hear this in the background.
To begin play in 2025.
Like, I'm sure that was probably the first time that whoever that was, if it was Alexi Lawless, saw that. And I think that's the reaction of a lot of people. Majority. And I'm not talking about, like, 55%, like, because that's considered majority of people. I'm thinking this is like 75, 80% of people have that same had that same reaction yesterday, which was, what?
2020.
What? Huh? That? What? That's the reaction you're getting. And I don't know how it's going to be received tonight. Obviously, you're going to have, I think, a good crowd there. But they swung and missed. The flat out swung and missed. They tried and they failed. Their first impression is not a good one. It could change as far as the crest in a couple years, but that's still a couple years. And by the way, they're not even starting to play until a couple years. So you're going to have to wait another couple years after a couple years for it to potentially change. We'll talk about more of that later in the show. Also coming up, Paul Garrison, East Village Times. We'll get into the Aztecs taking on Nevada tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. But coming up next, JB Long, voice of the Rams. He'll join us coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. ALCS pivotal Game 5 with the series tied at 2 games apiece. The Rangers have just gone up 4-2 in the bottom of the 6th inning there over the Astros. Later tonight, Phillies and D-backs in a Game 4. Phillies lead that series 2-1. And tomorrow night, the Aztecs return home to take on Nevada, 6 p.m. kickoff. 4 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Hour 2, Jon and Jim on a Friday. Jon is out for the time being. He is questionable to return. We'll see if Jon returns before 6 p.m. But if not, me and Brent holding down the fort for you on this Friday afternoon. It's great to have JB Long, voice of the Rams, join us like he does most Fridays. JB, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. This feels like the Friday to let it be known that Jim was always my favorite of the Jon and Jim duo. So.
Yes, look, anything you want to say good about me today, I'm all ears. Jon is obviously not here, like I said, but I'm glad I'm your favorite, and I always knew that, JB.
Yeah, I think I would have said that in front of Jon, but today just felt like it was time to come clean.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, look, Jon's not here. It's very easy to talk behind his back, and we're going to do it. So there we go. Jon, sorry, buddy. I'm his favorite. JB, this past weekend, Rams, they won 26-9, looked good doing it. And that was, we talked last week, it was a very important game for them in division because you feel like the Rams potentially could be vying for a wild card position, now sitting at 3-3, beating a division opponent. Just how big was that win last week on Sunday, and especially how they looked?
Yeah, I think it was a terrific opportunity for them to get right at home in front of the fans at SoFi Stadium, get back to 3-3. And I think the way they won it was the most important thing. They were patient. They got frustrated, but they didn't boil over with their lack of production in the first 2 quarters, came out and called 8 consecutive run plays and just smashed the Cardinals right in the mouth. And I think formulated a bit of an identity there, rushing for nearly 160 yards in that second half and scoring the final 23 points of that game. I think we would all be riding that wave of momentum into week 7, if not for the fact that they unfortunately lost both of their top 2 running backs, Kyren Williams and Ronnie Rivers, to injury in that second half. And so whether or not they can duplicate that blueprint against the Pittsburgh Steelers remains to be seen, because they're going to be handing it off to other candidates this week.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about the injuries with this team. I know Aaron Donald missed practice, I believe, today. Kyren Williams, he's becoming a go-to back. He had over 150 yards rushing for the Rams this past weekend. Just talk about, what kind of loss that would mean for the Rams and how the emergence of Kyren Williams has been for the running back room for the Rams.
Well, anytime I talk about the Rams running backs, I think it's important to note that the most important thing they have to do is be able to protect the quarterback.
Yeah.
Making sure that Matthew Stafford plays next week in Dallas is priority number 1. And you don't get handoffs unless you can do that. And so I think that's an important consideration when you look at the options available this week. In-house, they still have the rookie Zach Evans, who got his first taste last week with a couple of handoffs. Royce Freeman, who's been a veteran. He's 27 years of age. He's been around, and he's been with the Rams up and down from their practice squad. And then they brought Darrell Henderson back, who was part of their Super Bowl team, former third-round pick of the Rams. Even though a lot of their scheme has changed, he at least speaks the language, understands the expectations. And then they signed Myles Gaskin off the Minnesota practice squad, who's kind of part of that Sean McVay offensive tree. So how that carry share looks against Pittsburgh, I'm not sure. But I do know that when in doubt, they will err on the side of who do we know is trustworthy when it comes to picking up a blitz and making sure that Matthew Stafford stays upright.
JB Long, voice of the Rams, joining us here on Jon and Jim. The whole story with Sean McVay potentially missing a game because of the birth of his son. I thought it was pretty funny when he mentioned, look, my son knows better than to be born on a day that NFL game's happening. Like that whole story, I feel like, well, it was a funny one, and he took it kind of lighthearted. And of course, he's not going to miss. It's Sean McVay. He's not going to miss a game because of the birth of his son.
I appreciate Sean's ability to be lighthearted, like a little tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time mean what he says and says what he means.
Mm-hmm.
So, these things are unpredictable. If necessary, I'm sure he would do what's best for him and his wife, Veronica, and their soon-to-be son. We wish them all the best in the coming days and, if necessary, weeks. But I think his intention, his priority professionally, is to make sure that he's there on Sunday when they host the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I'm excited to see him begin this new chapter as a father.
JB Long, voice of the Rams, joining us here on Jon and Jim. Cooper Kupp doesn't look like he missed a beat. Looks like he's 100% fine, 100% healthy. Looks like he's the all-pro, that he was just a couple years ago.
I think that's well said. And it's a good reminder that having him back in the mix is a bit of a cheat code. And Matthew Stafford leaned on him when they needed that first touchdown to begin the third quarter last week. He makes 100-yard days look pretty easy. And there's an opportunity here this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are coming off their bye, but have been susceptible to opposing passing attacks and honestly have not been a typical Steelers defense. Now, that's not to say they can't put their best foot forward and beat the Rams at SoFi Stadium this weekend. They're absolutely capable of that. But what's interesting about the way the Steelers win is they almost tempt you into dropping back and trying to beat them through the air. And then they let their two really talented pass rushers in Watt and Highsmith pin their ears back and come after your quarterback. So as much as any week, I'm really fascinated to see how does McVay design what the Rams want to do and how close to executing it can they come to take advantage of some of Pittsburgh's weaknesses without putting their quarterback and the game in jeopardy.
Do you think that it's a good thing that potentially the Rams are kind of like flying under people's radar here? I mean, they're 3-3 on the year. The teams that they've lost to, Bengals and the Rams the Bengals, Niners, and Eagles. And you could view those three teams as probably some of the best teams in the NFL. Do you think they're flying under the radar here?
Yeah, I think it's definitely better competitively to be the hunter rather than the hunted. And the Rams have experienced both sides of that throughout the Sean McVay era. I think really what it's allowed them to do, Jim, is develop, kind of incubate their younger players. They now have won 3 of the 6 NFL Rookie of the Week honors, with Puka Nacua getting a couple, and now Byron Young, their young edge rusher, getting the most recent one. And on a more veteran team with higher expectations, I'm not sure you're able to allow, rookies to kind of sink or swim in this environment. There have been some lows, but there have been more highs. And I think with each passing week, you see more of the rookie class step into larger roles. And I think that's part of what you're describing, is that, hey, the Rams are in a position where they can ride the roller coaster a little bit. This is a 3-3 team right now vying for a wild card berth, which is different than being a reigning Super Bowl or division champion and having the expectations of, hey, if you don't beat this team, there's going to be a lot of questions about you.
How would you describe Matthew Stafford's year so far?
Statistically misleading. I think there's never been a better case in the years that I've covered the National Football League to look at the underlying metrics, what some would call the analytics. Matthew Stafford has really been, I think, one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. Certainly top 10, maybe top 5. But if you're just looking at like yards and touchdown to interception ratio or fantasy points, you would never guess that. But the throws that he's making, there's only like a handful of humans walking the planet who could do that once, much less week in and week out. And what's great about the way Matthew Stafford is playing is he is pushing the ball downfield. He's ripping off chunk plays without putting the football in jeopardy. So his big-time throws relative to his turnover-worthy plays, that ratio is about as pristine as you can get in this league. And he's got a chance on Sunday to play his 3rd consecutive turnover-free game, which has not happened since he's been with the Rams.
Yeah, I feel like everything with Matthew Stafford is based on, okay, don't turn the ball over. Just as long as you don't have that like back-breaking interception, more often than not, a Matthew Stafford-led team's gonna win that game, right? I mean, the interceptions that he throws, it's kind of a little bit of his MO at times, and hopefully, if you're a Rams fan, you're just trying to avoid seeing a late game interception or an interception in a big moment.
Yeah, no, I think what you've described there is accurate, and especially against this Pittsburgh defense. I'm sensitive to that. I think we'll all kind of have an eye out for that because really Pittsburgh's been stealing wins with their defense. They've had 3 narrow victories by a total of 16 points, and in each of those, they've had at least 3 takeaways and at least 4 sacks. They've also scored twice on defense and blocked a punt out the end zone for a safety. So when they're winning, it's not because Pickett and their offense is carving you up. It's because they play the long game and they wait for you to blow off some toes with self-inflicted injuries, and then they capitalize with some special players on defense.
JB, I'll make sure to absolutely tell Jon that I am your favorite when he gets back. I know you're okay with that, right?
Who's Jon again?
Exactly my point. JB, thank you for joining us today. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you in the near future.
Jim, good luck holding down the best one-man show in San Diego.
Thanks, JB. Appreciate it, man. JB Long, voice of the Rams, joining us here on San Diego Sports 760. Of course, you can listen to Rams football right here on Sunday versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, Brent, what is something that in the last couple months, actually not a couple months, the last year, where you could say that's the cringiest thing I've ever heard in my life?
Pretty much anything Taylor Swift related lately.
Well, you're on the right path. It's songs, right? Songs. When you hear songs, you're like, it's cringy. Where I'm going with this is last year, the That's What's In guys was just probably one of the cringiest things that you'll hear. And it happened during the Padres NLCS series versus the Phillies. And you think in yourself, all right, there is no way in hell the Padres are going to beat the Phillies with this type of bad juju. No chance.
Songs never work out.
Songs by fans.
It didn't work out.
No.
The one year Eddie Vedder wrote a song about the Cubs, and then we choked away in that year in the playoffs. Prince wrote a song about the Vikings once because he was like a diehard Vikings fan, and then they were like the number 1 seed. Then they got obliterated. Just song. If you're a super fan, like musician, don't write a song about your team because if you do, you've just jinxed them to doom.
Yes, that is the ultimate curse. We talk about curses on the show. The curse, bad juju, death nail in the coffin, whatever you want to call it, is when a fan of a team comes out with a super cringy video or song and then puts it on social media before the series is even over. And you're thinking to yourself, why the hell did you do that? And why I'm talking about this is the Rangers. I don't know who this guy is. I think he works for a radio station in Texas.
It looked like it because he was recording it in a station.
So this guy here, RJ Choppy. All right. He is a co-host of Shannon RJ Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 10 a.m. on 105.3 The Fan. Very popular radio station in Texas. That is a sports station. Yeah, it is a sports station. He recorded a music video, or he recorded music after the Rangers went up 2-0 on the Astros. Now, since then, they have not won a game. They're obviously leading today 4-2. And my phone goes off there. They're up 4-2 today on the Rangers or the Astros. But this song, just listen, it's just, why are you doing this, man? You just jinxed the hell out of the Rangers.
Valdi. Like, it's like, oh God, you guys are so awful. You got beat by Nate Valdi.
So I've
But-
wanted the Rangers to win this series because of Boch. I kind of want them to lose now.
See, I just wanted them to win because I hate Dusty Baker.
Yeah.
But this song is so awful
Dude,
that
so
now I want the Rangers to lose. Dusty Baker can lose in the World Series, but the Rangers need to lose now. That was just awful.
If I'm RJ Choppy or whatever he goes by, I am praying to God or whoever that the Rangers win this series, because if they lose, that's the first thing people are going to go to.
And they should.
As they should. They are going to go to that song, and it's all going to be his fault. It's all your fault, RJ Choppy, if the Rangers lose this series, by the way.
Dude, this song is so bad that this could like damn them, not just this series, for like future like generations.
This could curse the franchise
come.
forever. This could literally ruin the Texas Rangers as we know it today.
Yeah, they might as well have, kick someone's goat out and said North Carolina has good Mexican food all at the same time because they're done.
The Rangers could win. I mean, they're up 4-2 in this game, but the series is obviously not over. But why, as fans, do you go out there and do cringy stuff when the series aren't over?
Wait till after.
If the Rangers won the series and they beat the Astros, then do the song. That's fine. It's still cringy as hell, but just wait till this series is over.
Yeah, wait until they like win and then sing your stupid song at the parade.
Yeah, that's what's in, guys. Wait until the Padres are done with the Phillies. Right? There was a Dodger fan that recently did a really very cringy video kind of making fun of the Padres. And that was before their DS series when they lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's okay to wait. Like, it's okay to wait until after something's done to do something, because you're putting yourself in just the most awkward position, and you're setting yourself up to get absolutely destroyed on social media. The Rangers lose this series, it's RJ Choppy's fault because of that cringy music video or whatever you want to call it, song.
It's so bad
that he made. And you know what sucks now? It's stuck in my freaking head. Now I have the jingle in my head.
Thankfully for me, it just sounded like any other country song, so it'll just like filter out of my brain. But
it's I just don't understand it sometimes that fans go out and do this type of stuff, and it happens a lot. But guys, wait till the series is over. If you're a fan of the team, you know the etiquette here, and you wait until the series is over. You don't trash talk. Like, you wait until the series is over before you officially do whatever cringy thing you're going to do. It's not that hard.
Charlie on YouTube chat says Lil Choppy has nothing on Creed. They did one too, because Scott Stapp from Creed.
He was at the games, and
no, because he was a Marlins fan, so he did a Marlins song the one year.
Well, the Rangers have been playing Creed in their clubhouse, and they actually, who's the lead singer of Creed?
Is like Scott Stapp.
He showed up to the Rangers games the other day, and
It's
they
not
lost.
like he has anything else to do.
Right? He's not. Can you take me higher?
Say they haven't had a hit since I was like a senior in high school.
Hey, that song low key slaps. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
All right, coming up next.
Say so.
Coming up next, we got the Wrap Trainwreck Radio. We'll figure out how to do that with John out. Coming up 4:45. Paul Garrison, East Village Times, will join us at 5:30. All of that. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim.
All right, let's get to this quick super here. Thank you, JD Gaucho. Appreciate it, man. He says Ranger video is 100% country music at its best. It's country music, but at the same time, it's not really great country music. It's defined as country music. If you like that, JD Gaucho. I like country music. I like country music a lot. I just don't. I think that's just cringy. That's just my opinion. But I do like country music. Thanks for the super chat, JD Gaucho. Appreciate it, man. Make sure if you're here, like the video. Everybody in the chat right now, like the video, please. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. John, we'll see if he gets back today. I don't know, but in the meantime, me and Brent holding down the fort. So we'll talk to you guys after the break.
All right, coming up next is the wrap right here on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. Rangers, Astros, game 5. That series tied at 2 games apiece. Rangers have a 4-2 lead in the top of the 8th inning there. Game 4, Phillies and D-backs later tonight in Arizona. Phillies have a 2-1 series lead over the D-backs. And tomorrow night, the Aztecs are back at Snapdragon Stadium as they take on Nevada. 6 p.m. kick. Our pregame cover starts at 4 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. All right, Jon and Jim on a Friday. It's just Jim today and Brent holding down the fort while Jon is questionable to return. We'll see if he comes back, but in the meantime, it's just me and Brent for the remainder of the day. Score update here. Just talked about it. Rangers leading the Astros 4-2 in the top of the 8th inning there. Got to roll this Chapman on the mound for Texas. Pivotal game 5. RJ Choppy is praying that the Rangers pull this one out, because if they don't, it's on him. And then later tonight, got the Phillies and the D-backs. We'll see if that will become interesting, or if the Phillies will take a 3-1 lead there. I just don't. This series, the Rangers Houston series, I feel like it's a toss-up. It could go either way. I still feel very confident that the Phillies are going to beat the Astros, or the Phillies are going to beat the D-backs. I just do. As your microphone, Brent's microphone behind the scenes here, his microphone just broke behind the scenes. What a great day. What an awesome day. Jon has to go to the urgent care. The microphone behind the scenes here breaks for you.
The microphone needs to go to urgent care too.
It does, actually. Everything's working? Everything's fine? Okay. Give you a little time there to twist that thing back on. I feel like that cord does not look stable. Like I feel like it's gonna break.
The cord's like, how in the movies when like the string's starting to get so tight that it's just gonna snap. That's where we're at.
Yeah, we are at a critical moment with this cord back there, where it is on the verge of snapping at any moment, as Brent has to try and fix his microphone. We just have a great Friday, everybody. Great Friday. If you can't see what's going on, Brent's literally now holding the microphone because he can't twist it onto the giant mic arm back there. As I am very fascinated by this whole situation. Why don't you unplug it, Brent? Like unplug the mic and then twist it on. You got it? Just don't touch it. Or maybe, yeah. Okay. We're good?
I'll make it work.
All right. We can still
Adapt
hear
or
you.
die.
Yeah, adapt or die. We can still hear you for the time being. While the mic is still on the mic stand, Brent, let's get to it.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
It's like the mic has leprosy. I just keep waiting for it just to fall.
Oh, I know. It's ready to fall, yeah.
Jim, are the Aztecs going to score 30 points or more tomorrow against winless Nevada?
I hope so. They better. Now, 2 of the last 3 games, the offense did put up 30 points. We don't talk about the Air Force game. That was just hot garbage. But against Boise, they put up 31. Against Hawaii, they put up 34 as an offense. I would expect, because what's the line in this game?
It was 13.5. I don't know what it is now.
I do expect them to go out and put up 30 plus points. I would hope they put up 30 plus points, because Nevada's not good. And if you
want down to 11.5 now.
Oh, okay. I don't like that. But still, I expect them to put up 30 plus points. I do. I think that the offense last two out of the last 3 games has been much better. Hopefully they can take advantage of Nevada tomorrow night. Brent, next question.
Are the Astros once again the front runners to win the World Series?
Well, I mean, they're down 4-2 in the top of the 8th inning.
You and RJ Choppy are a little premature on that one, I think.
Little premature. It's always funny in the postseason when a team wins a couple games in a row. You're like, oh, that team is gonna 100% win that series. They're unstoppable. They're not losing. And then 4 games later, it's tied up. I think the winner of this game wins the series. Game 5 here. I do. With Texas up 4-2. And oh, by the way, this is interesting. Their closer for Texas is in there in the 8th inning for a 4-out save. Huh. It's interesting. Funny how those things work out. But I think the Rangers, if they win this game, they're going to win the series. The same thing with the Astros. That's what happens in game 5 when you're tied 2-2. Brent, next question.
At 5-2, is Jacksonville a contender for the AFC?
I saw this yesterday. It's like Jacksonville has one of the best records in football. Travis Etienne has been great. Do you know Travis Etienne played last night?
Should we start him?
Should we start Travis Etienne? That should be a question. Should you start Travis Etienne this weekend? Dude, I went back and listened to that. I'm an idiot. I was talk about cringy things.
I think you should ask that to every guest now for the rest of the year.
I showed that to Erin, and she's like, "You're an idiot. What are you doing?" It was so bad. It was so bad. And my reaction was, "Wait, what happened?" Such an idiot. But back to the question. How could they not be a favorite in the AFC right now? They have one of the best records. They're 5-2. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach in Doug Peterson. Trevor Lawrence, you could argue, is easily one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC. I think you have Miami, obviously the Chiefs. You have the Jaguars and the Bills, and then the Ravens. Those are probably my 5 teams right now in the AFC that I consider the top tier. So yeah, I put them as a contender for sure. Next question.
24 hours later, has your opinion changed on the new San Diego FC logo?
It's actually kind of gotten worse, to be honest with you, because the more you look at it, and there was a high resolution, like the initial picture of the
What do you
logo.
need high res for? It's gray.
It's chrome, Brent, or it's like, what is it? Azul. It's like chrome and azul. So the picture that was released by The Athletic, it was like a little pixelated. It was a little blurry. And then Mark Ziegler posted a article with the high resolution picture of the logo. And it looks better in high resolution. That doesn't mean it looks better overall. It just looks better in high resolution because there's things you can see. There's like the blue background is like kind of textured, which is kind of cool. But I hate the chrome. I hate it with a passion. And I don't know why I care so much about this. Like John is like, maybe John, the reason why he went to urgent care today, because he was so upset about this freaking logo that he's like, I can't take it anymore.
He had health issues over it.
He had health issues over it. I mean, maybe it will grow on a lot of people. Maybe it will grow on me. But I went out last night for dinner with some friends, and I showed them the logo, and they all didn't like it. It was like, what is this? The soccer ball? They didn't.
At least they noticed the soccer ball. I didn't notice it.
Well, as soon as I told them it was a soccer ball, they noticed it
okay.
because initially they looked at it and they go, "What? What is that? I don't know what that is." And I told them the reason why. 18 counties. Like, is that the first thing you think about when you think San Diego? No. It's just the gradient colors. Just you can't do a gradient color. You can't have a gradient color for a logo. You have to have something bright, something that stands out, something that pops. This doesn't pop for me. I know there's multiple options for different kits because they have a blue, like a darkish, like orange, and then a lighter yellow or a dark yellow. So there's like multiple options for different colored kits. That's pretty cool. And I have to see it on a kit because I believe Adidas is still the sponsor, or at least like the jersey company for MLS teams. And I'm just imagining the 3 stripes across the chest with that logo there. And the first thing I'm going to think about, and I'm sure a lot of people are, is like, oh, dude, it looks like a police shirt. Because it looks like a police badge. It looks like they're going to be wearing police badges on their chest.
But will they even have the name of the team on their jersey? Isn't soccer like famous for just putting the sponsor all over it, not actually having the team name on it?
Yeah, the San Diego FC will be the crest there, and then they're going to have sponsors like somewhere on the bottom.
So maybe they'll just make the logo so small. It'll be like the little alligator thing on those shirts.
Maybe
it'll be so tiny you won't see it.
Maybe. I don't know. My opinion on it, I don't really like it. Kind of have to wait and see on it, but it's a bad misstep for the first impression on the city as a whole. So 844-570-1360, 844-570-1360. We're playing Trainwreck Radio Don't have. Hold on one second here. Brent, do you have the list of the prizes in front of you?
It's hollow screen passes at SeaWorld.
Hallow Screen Passes at SeaWorld. It's not on my sheet here, but Hallow Screen Passes at SeaWorld. If you want to win those, 844-570-1360. We're going to be doing Trainwreck Radio coming up next. First 2 contestants that call will have an opportunity to win Hallow Scream tickets at SeaWorld. 844-570-1360. Trainwreck Radio is next. All right, coming up next, your chance to win Hallow Scream tickets at SeaWorld. Also, a brawl in the Rangers-Astros game. We'll update you on that coming up next. All right, things have gotten spicy in the Astros Rangers game 5 here. It's 4-2 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Garcia for the Rangers already has hit a 3-run go-ahead home run earlier in the game, and he pimped this thing. Like, pimped it. And when I mean pimped it, was walking up the first baseline.
He walked 80% of the way to
watching
first.
the entire flight of the ball, and as soon as it landed in the bleachers, tossed his bat, going crazy, just gave his team the lead. I don't have any problem with it. It's the postseason. Emotions are high.
He walked a little too long, I thought.
I don't have that big of a problem with it. And then his next at bat, Garcia gets hit by the pitch in the back of his back, and he immediately turns to the catcher, Maldonado, and gets in his face, because there is some history here. And they just showed it on TV, the history between both of the teams, how there has been hit batters by multiple teams. Pitchers are throwing at guys, and they just ejected the Astros pitcher Abreu, who threw at Adolis Garcia. And Dusty Baker just lost his freaking mind. I see that. I love this. This is what sports is about. It's about rivalries, about emotion, passion. Now, they didn't fight, but there was a lot of pushing and shoving there. That was awesome. Now there's 2 on, no out for the Rangers in the bottom of the 8th inning. Maybe RJ Choppy's going to be off the hook here.
Yeah.
Maybe RJ Choppy won't have to worry about the Rangers losing. Because, dude, what are we doing? It's a postseason game. You're down by 2 runs. Why are you throwing at the guy? That's just stupidity in my mind. You're trying to win the baseball game. You're in game 5 of the ALCS, and you decide to throw at a guy for pimping a home run early in the game. Dude, give me a break. What?
Maybe it slipped.
Yeah, I'm sure it slipped. That was just stupid on the Astros part. Did they eject Garcia here?
Probably.
Wow.
Looks like it.
So they ejected Adolis Garcia. They ejected the pitcher, Abreu, that hit Garcia in the back.
That's okay, because former Padre Travis Jankowski has entered the game.
Oh, the great Travis Jankowski here to save the day.
His long flowing locks have come in to save the day.
Wow. Spicy. And these are division rivals. I love it. I love it. I love that stuff. Oh, it's awesome. Ah, must be nice. All right, Brent, let's get to it.
Three questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's contestants, we have CJ and Jorge. CJ, you called in first, but unfortunately for you, John's not here, so you're both stuck with Jim today.
Yeah, you both have me, CJ and Jorge. Are you guys there?
That's good for me.
All right. So what we're going to do is you both have me as a lifeline. CJ, you called in first, so you get first crack here at the question and answer. You both have a lifeline. I am both of your lifelines. And Brent, what's the question today?
All right, guys. John wrote this question, so it worked out that he didn't show up today.
Soft.
As we learned yesterday, San Diego's Major League Soccer team will be called the San Diego FC. Today's question, can you name the other 12 Major League Soccer clubs that use the letters FC in their name?
All right.
So pretty much name the other 12 soccer teams that are called FC
in MLS. All right. So CJ, you're up first. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
LAFC.
On the list. There we go. Tom Penn, who now is with San Diego FC, was a big part in LAFC. Kind of no surprise that San Diego is named San Diego FC. All right. Jorge, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
New York.
New York.
NYCFC.
There you go. New York City FC. Good job. All right. Tied at 1. Back to CJ. CJ, what is your second guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Yeah, I'm going to use the lifeline.
Lifeline. All right. I'm going to give you Atlanta. Do you take that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Atlanta FC.
Is that your full answer?
Atlanta?
Full answer.
Hold on.
FC.
Why are you saying that? Atlanta? It's because they have another name in there?
Yes.
I know. Atlanta United, right? Atlanta United. CJ, do you take that?
Sounds good to me.
There we go. Okay, that made sense.
There's a couple cities that have an additional thing like that, so I'm going to want both of them.
All right. Jorge, you're up next. What's your next guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Sporting.
What did you say?
Oh, sorry. It's not Sporting. Sorry. Austin FC.
Austin FC. Is that on the list? That's on the list. All right. Go to the final round. Tied at 2. CJ, you do not have your lifeline. So this is your final guess. This is all up to you, man. What do you got?
Inter Miami.
Inter Miami. Oh, I think that's just their name, Inter Miami. I don't think they have an FC on it. Okay, Jorge, you could walk off here with the right guess, and you do have your lifeline still. So what do you got, man?
Charlotte.
Charlotte FC on the wow, Jorge got a soccer fan there. All right. I think that worked out pretty well without Jon here and just one lifeline or just one person.
We should do Jim versus Jim every
Jim
day.
versus Jim. I always win. All right, Brent, what did we miss?
All right. Well, we had Atlanta United, Austin, Charlotte, then Chicago Fire FC. So if you would have just said Chicago, I wouldn't have counted it.
Chicago Fire. Okay.
Then there's FC Dallas, Cincinnati, Los Angeles, and then there's Minnesota United, New York City, Seattle Sounders FC, Toronto, and then Vancouver.
Okay. And now San Diego FC. Congratulations to Jorge. You won a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld's Hallow Scream at SeaWorld San Diego. Congratulations there. All right. We'll keep an eye on this ALCS game that there was just a fight. Not really a fight, more or less like a benches clearing. Rangers still lead that game 4-2.
Scuffle.
There's a scuffle of sorts. But coming up next, we talked about it earlier in the show. We'll bring it back here. Bob Melvin, there's a report today in The Athletic by Andrew Baggerly that if you think that Bob Melvin is 100% going to return next year as the Padres manager, you might want to pump the brakes just a tiny bit after you hear what was reported. I'll tell you that coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. Score update in ALCS game number 5. The Rangers still lead the Astros 4-2 as we head to the top of the 9th inning there. The NLCS game number 4 between the Phillies and the D-backs, moments away from first pitch in Arizona. Phillies lead that series 2-1. And the Aztecs, they return home tomorrow night to take on Nevada, 6 p.m. kickoff. Our pregame show starts at 4 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. All right, final hour of Jon and Jim, except it's just Jim and Brent today. Jon is, I guess he's out. I mean, it's 5 o'clock. I don't think he's coming back. If you don't know where Jon's at,
I wouldn't.
I don't think he's probably thinking to himself, I'm not going there.
John's probably at Dairy Queen eating a Blizzard right now. I'm like, I'm still waiting for him to finish my EKG.
I'm almost thinking to myself, like honestly, I don't want anything bad to happen to Jon. I want him to be like okay. But I know it's going to happen. I know he's going to come to me back and he's going to text me and go, just got my either blood work or scans or whatever back. I'm completely fine.
I just had gas. I had to burp.
Yeah, I had a deep burp that I need to get out. Like I'm almost preparing for that. Like, oh, nothing was wrong. And I'm totally fine.
Oh, real quick on the chat. Everyone thinks I don't hate Travis Jankowski. I actually like Travis Jankowski. I was joking. I wasn't ripping him. Everyone on the chat's like, why do you hate Travis Jankowski? I don't
hate Travis Jankowski.
It's just a joke. I like him. I liked him when he was here.
There's just a lot of former Padres
The
players.
joke was just that he was a former Padre. Yeah. It wasn't on him.
We're in the top of the 9th inning there. Runner on first for the Astros, no outs.
You think they have RJ Compy all
Choppy or whatever his name is?
Whatever. Like we're gonna remember his name in 2 weeks anyways. You think they have him all queued up like
ready
the
to go in
song,
Houston?
like when they win?
Yeah, well, dude, that song. If you missed it, go back in the podcast.
If you missed it, you're lucky.
Yeah, you are very lucky. Go back in the podcast. RJ Choppy. Man. Well, hold on a second. Okay. So I was just talking about Jon. And I was like, one, he's going to come back and he's going to literally say, everything is fine. Nothing's wrong with me. I was totally fine. I had like a burp and I'm going to kill him. Like, I'm going to really make him go to the hospital for something.
I'm fine.
This freaking guy. Oh my gosh.
Where's our lollipops?
Yeah, where's our lollipops? Where's our candy from the doctor? What the hell happened to you? Hold on. Set your stuff up. It's fine. Set your stuff up. You're okay. Jon is now back from the doctors. He texted me. If you don't know where Jon was at today, if you're just tuning into the first time, at 2:00 today. Yeah, he has his bracelet from the doctors. 2:00 today. He texts me. I think I'm having he's like, I think I'm having a heart attack, and Kristen is making fun of me. And at first, I thought to myself, okay, you're fine. What's going on here? And then it's like, oh, by the way, I'm actually going to urgent care. Like, what? And he's at urgent care, and everyone's like, oh, dude, like I told Darren, and he was like, oh, dude, is he okay? I'm like, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with Jon right now. Everything is fine. I guarantee you, because Jon's a little bit of a hypochondriac.
I'm a bit of hypochondriac. This is the second time I've done this in the last 5 years.
That he's going to come back, or I'm going to get a text whenever saying, oh, by the way, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong with me. And that's kind of what happened right here, pretty much.
Okay, let me explain the day. Okay, so Do I feel bad?
No,
do
you
I
don't.
feel bad? I do feel bad.
Brent already said, look, if I were John,
he wouldn't show up.
I wouldn't show up.
No, I agree. And it
Yeah.
was that little bit of like, well, here's the other thing. I didn't want to not show up and then go to a high school football game with Jack Cronin, which is what I'm about to do.
Oh, yeah, it's right. You have to do football today, right?
Add me into this.
Hold on.
So it's like 1:45. I think. Oh no, it's like 1:30. I'm about to shower.
Okay.
And I'm like, all of a sudden, I have like, my chest was like tight. I lean back. I'm like, oh, I like breathed in deep. I'm like, man, my chest is like tight, but I've had that before.
How many Celsius have you had today?
1.
Okay.
So then, like,
1 degree Celsius.
I take a shower and like, I don't know. I thought it was. Here's where I made a mistake. I went to Google.
You idiot!
That's where I made a mistake.
Oh my God! You went to freaking WebMD.
That was the thing. And I reported
Oh.
I had shortness of breath and a tight chest. It's like,
So
go,
that-
like run to the doctor.
And your wife is like, "Hey, idiot! What's wrong? What are you doing?
Well, how do I not have my headphones either, by the way? What a day. What's going on here?
What do you mean you don't have your headphones?
I don't know.
Here. Well,
Whatever. It's fine.
wait. You don't need Well, we don't need headphones. You can find headphones at the break.
Where are they?
Or just get. I don't know.
No, we're fine.
Whatever.
So anyway, you know me. It's like I have a 4-year-old. I have a wife. I'm like, I don't want to just keel over. A 3-run home run for the Astros after
oh my
that.
Goodness.
Thanks, Brent. Are these mine,
my
Brent?
goodness.
These must be. These are.
This is absolute chaos.
All
right
right.
now.
So yeah, Jose Altuve's hit a home run. Wow.
RJ
After-
Choppy. It's RJ Choppy's fault.
Wow.
It's RJ Choppy's fault. Did you hear what we played today?
I did. I saw it earlier, and the bench is cleared, and to hit a 3-run home run after that in the 9th inning is wow.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, a long story short, the long story short is this: is that I didn't want to just keel over and die, so I made probably the wrong decision of going to whatever it's called, urgent care,
Okay.
which takes hours. So it took 2.5 hours. They did an EKG, whatever that does. It like looks at your heart, and then they gave me an X-ray, and
You had an
everything.
X-ray
I had an
today?
X-ray.
What?
I had an X-ray, and anyway, everything was fine. Do I feel a little bit like an idiot? Yes, but would I prefer to be living and feeling like an idiot as opposed to dead and just be a tough guy? I feel like most dudes, they like just don't do anything. Like, oh, I chest pain, whatever. The guy's like, do you smoke? I'm like, no. He's like, do you vape? No. He's like, do you eat meat? I'm like, no. He's like, do you work out? I'm like, yes.
No.
He's like, do you do anything negative in your lifestyle? I'm like, no. He's like, dude,
No.
you're fine.
You're okay.
So that's the deal. I know.
I drank a soda once. I know this is the cause
Well, then
of it.
it could be
I ate some
caffeine, I
meat
guess.
like 2 months ago.
But I will say this: I've listened or I've watched the entire 2-hour show so far.
Okay.
It's been very good. I've enjoyed the show.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm like, do I even show up? But I felt like I needed to show up because I'm going to do a high school football game with Jack, so I didn't want to completely bail.
You
you
peeked your head around the
guys.
corner as I was talking about you, and it was like, "Are you serious right now?
Man, what a day!
What a
I'm
long
such an
day for you.
Idiot.
You are an idiot. I knew this was gonna. I like
I have all these
100% knew
things
this.
like on my chest.
I knew this was gonna happen to you. I
Well,
knew that you were going to be perfectly fine, and this was going to be a 100% overreaction. I'm sure your wife knew that.
She knew it.
I'm sure.
But what are the other options?
Anybody else you told?
There's other people that don't go to the hospital and then they just end up dead, right?
So you felt a weird.
Yes, left
Pain?
side of my chest, breathing in. I'm like, ow. I felt it for the better part of an hour.
Do you still feel that?
No, it's gone. Once I got to the hospital, I'm like, this place is great. I'm just like, kicking back. I'm like drinking Diet Coke. I'm talking to doctors. I'm watching the show. This always happens to me. It's like once I end up in the right spot, and now that I'm past it, I could care less. You know what I mean? I went to the doctor, and now I'm here. I'm like, I'm fine. What's going to happen? So I'm like, do I come the next time this happens, Doc? He's like, it depends. It's like, you know, heart you don't mess around with, or chest.
What
but
did your wife say? What did Kristen say after?
she was like, you're
this
not
whole
having
thing?
a heart attack, and basically laughed in my face. But it was like, if you want to make sure you're not having a heart attack, just go to urgent care, which of course costs $100. Who knows how much more once I get like a bill from insurance. But what am I supposed to do, Jim?
Are you?
And did it have to do with SDFC's logo? Maybe. Did it have to do with Bob Melvin, Dennis Lynn's article about Bob Melvin potentially interviewing with the Giants if granted permission? Maybe. Like, are we stressed out in life? I was thinking about this. Like, you and I, we do a 3-hour radio show. Is it overly stressful?
No.
But we kind of make it stressful.
It's like fun.
It is fun, but we're constantly doing shows.
Yeah.
We're constantly on social media.
So you're blaming this on me?
I don't think so. Part of me wants to, potentially.
You're going down that path right now, I feel like, of this whole day, you going to urgent care because you had some chest pain, and it turns out you're fine, is now my fault.
I don't want to blame. I don't know what I'm blaming.
Blame the media.
I think, yes, so I am blaming you. I think I want to blame
the media for putting expectations on your heart.
Yes, I want to blame someone. Getting back to what? Melvin?
Yeah. So
maybe that's what it was, as opposed to SCFC.
Well, we did a wrap-up show this morning. You were fine.
I was 100% fine.
And
felt great.
We were like, okay, we're going to tease that we're going to discuss Bob Melvin today. Give the listeners a little bit of tease. We don't want to blow everything right now. And
then I end up on my deathbed.
Yeah. Then you're sending me pictures from the hospital bed getting an EKG exam or whatever.
I mean, here's the thing. This is a classic real smoke fire type situation. There's no way Andrew Baggerly is going down this path if he doesn't have a reason to do it. As you mentioned earlier, he texted me saying this, I'm still actively reporting this.
Yeah.
And I don't feel as if I'm in a position where I can discuss it publicly on the radio because it's still actively being reported. By the way, he's not the only one to report this at The Athletic or just in general, that Bob Melvin and the Padres might not be fully locked in for 2024. And I agree with everything you said, which is it's not to say Melvin's going anywhere, but it's also not to say Melvin isn't going anywhere. So the question is this. It's a two-folded question. Would the Padres grant him permission? And if they do, will he take the interview? I think we know the latter answer. I think he'll take the interview. The question to me is, will the Padres grant him permission? And I think they have to if they don't extend his contract.
Isn't it weird, though, like how these stories are coming out? Like, what is there to gain from any of this? Whoever's leaking any of this? Is it Bob's camp? Is it someone of the Padres?
Is it even Bob's? Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, is it Bob's camp? Is Bob's camp just Bob? And Bob has a relationship with Bay Area writers and reporters, and he's spoken to people and said, you know, if granted the opportunity to interview, I would do it. Because it's as simple as that.
This is a pretty definitive paragraph here from Andrew Baggerly saying it's expected that Melvin, 61 years old, would be open to the opportunity to interview with the Giants and return to the Bay Area where he managed the A's for 11 seasons if the Padres permit him to do so.
Dude, Jim, think about this. Grew up in the Bay Area, played for the Giants, managed for the A's for a decade, left Oakland because they were leaving him. He literally left Oakland because he had to leave Oakland. And now potentially the Bay Area is calling and it's like a real organization and not the Oakland A's, and you're not going to at least talk to them. That's why I think it has legs. You've got 1 year on your deal. You've spent your life and your career in the Bay Area. There's a real organization there that wants you, and you're not going to at least interview for the job. The question becomes, will the Padres allow him? The hang-up is the hang-up. That's Andrew Baggerly's article. It's like, you know what? The Giants are going to wait on this because they want to know if they can actually talk to Bob Melvin or not. They'll probably find out after the World Series. This is how I look at it, Jim. Melvin gets an extension, or if the Giants want to interview him, they'll have the right to interview him, right? I mean, you took him from Oakland, and now you're not going to allow someone else to interview him with 1 year left on his deal? I feel like what's fair is fair.
So, okay, just breaking this whole thing down here. Why does it make sense for Bob? Like, let's give the pros for why it makes sense for Bob. One, you're not with AJ Preller anymore.
Right.
That's one. Two, you're back in the Bay Area.
That's two.
Okay.
You don't have the same personalities to manage, whether it's good or bad.
But that's also a negative because while the personalities here in San Diego are very large and at times, I'm sure, hard to manage,
they're talented.
They're way more talented than anything the Giants have on their roster.
True, but you know what the Giants have that the Padres don't?
Money.
Exactly. And now I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to use it appropriately. They basically were denied the ability to spend this past offseason, tried to spend it on Correa, went after other free agents and came up basically empty. But it's not like the Giants are 2 years. Are they fully 2 years away? They win 59 games this year.
No, but I don't know if they're close either.
It might be like a year and a half.
Like, are they? Well, is Bob okay with that?
Waiting a second year? I think he would be for a 3 or 4 year deal that's guaranteed as opposed to 1 year in San Diego. Do you want 1 year with this roster or 4 years with another roster?
Does Bob want to manage for another 4 years? That's another question, because it was kind of relayed when he signed this 3-year deal with the Padres that this might be the last 3 years of his managerial career. So
yeah, well, I kind of felt that way, but I don't know if he ever said that. You know, I have felt that way.
Yeah,
I agree with what you're saying there, but like, okay, let me ask you this. Do you think if Melvin manages in San Diego in 2024, it's the last year he manages in the big leagues anywhere?
no,
Yeah, either do I. I don't feel that way either.
because I do think if he left the organization, he would be picked up pretty quickly. I think he would, right?
Yeah, he would if he wanted to manage. Yes. If he wanted to manage, yes.
So just putting all the dots together here, it does feel like there is definite smoke here. I don't know how much smoke. I don't know how wide open the door crack is. I don't know if it's a 1% chance or a 10% chance. I don't know. But when I see things reported by Andrew Baggerly, who has covered the Giants for well over a decade,
Right.
has been in the Bay Area well over a decade when Bob was there for all 11 years that Bob Melvin was the manager of the A's. You talk to everybody, you know everybody. So you know a lot of things. And he is as well informed on the Giants as anybody there is. It's basically the same as with like Kevin and Dennis here in town,
Mm-hmm.
but with the Giants, and probably even more so. So when he says things like that, I take his word. Like, hey, look, this is all hingent on if the Giants call the Padres and legitimately ask for permission to interview him.
Here's what I think about it. Because my opinion's changed on this, but the more I read on it, the more I think it's legitimate and real. And there's no way in my mind there's only a 1% chance it occurs.
Because after today?
Yeah, exactly. And here the reason is this. The reason is simple. He's got 1 year on his deal. If he had multiple years on his deal, I don't think he's going anywhere. If the Padres want to extend him, he stays if he wants to be extended. If the Padres don't extend him, I believe if the Giants want to interview him, he'll have the opportunity to interview. Because I think the Padres would be hypocrites to interview a manager like Melvin, who was under contract with Oakland, and then not allow Melvin to interview with another club when he's under contract.
If he interviews for the Giants job, he's gone.
That's what I would guess.
How I feel.
I would think the same thing.
Like, you're not going to interview for that job and then return and be like, I'm back.
I agree.
Like, with everything we've heard about the relationship between him and Preller.
Why didn't he talk to the media?
It just doesn't add up, dude. It doesn't add up at all.
Right. It doesn't add up.
There's something there, it feels like. And maybe there's not. Maybe this is all just a bunch of BS. But then why is this being reported?
Actually, maybe it does add up, to be honest with you, Jim. What adds up is he wasn't at the year-end press conference. He gave one quote to Bernie Wilson at the AP, maybe to Kevin as well, said, I'll be back. That's not definitive and something that, you know, you're going to be held to. He didn't sign some piece of paper saying, I'll be back. And then the Giants are maybe potentially trying to woo him once the postseason comes to an end. So, you know, I don't know what that's like. Like you said, can a division rival call the Padres and say, hey, we want to interview your manager? Mm-hmm. I don't see why not. I really don't see it. That alone doesn't preclude Melvin from going to the Bay Area. He's got 1 year on his deal. He can't go with a 5-year deal. No. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's coming off a disappointing season in which he was not extended. And there were questions as to whether the Padres even wanted to bring him back in the first place. So that's where I add it all up. Wasn't at the year-end press conference, has 1 year left on his deal. And I mean, are we really that sure that he's back other than what he told Bernie Wilson at the AP 2 weeks ago?
It's just a weird situation, because you should honestly, when you hear a general manager and a manager say that they're coming back, you should believe them. Like, we should be sitting here saying this is stupid because we believe the words coming out of the general manager and manager's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't.
Yeah, I think Preller probably wants him back based on what he said at that year-end press conference, but Preller can't speak for Melvin
because you think that that after seeing that weird Seidler news release or press release, I guess, at the end of the season on that Monday, it kind of caught everybody off guard. You kind of almost feel that is like a parent telling his kids, hey, you two kiss and make up. Like, hey, I know you guys are fighting, but I'm not going to have any more of this crap. Make up right now.
There's that. Well, and also to your point on that statement and the way they went about it and all the ambiguity in there, it was like play dumb games, win dumb prizes. What I mean by that is when you make it so ambiguous that the fans literally weeks after the end of the season are still questioning as to whether your manager is going to be back. Maybe that's more on you than him.
Yeah.
Now, I know he had his quote to Bernie Wilson. You said it earlier. Things change.
Things change all the
time. If the Giants want to offer Bob Melvin a 4-year deal and you've got 1 year left on your contract, you're telling me the Giants can't talk to Bob Melvin? Is that what's going to happen? Right. You tell me. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
This is the second time this week that Andrew Bagley has put a story out there about Bob Melvin.
Is that both this week?
Yeah. And then, as I said, and I think this is totally fair to say, is like when we reached out to Andrew Bagley to come on the show today, he respectfully declined, saying, look, still ongoing. Like this
active reporting.
Active reporting still.
Yeah.
Something's there.
Yeah, I agree.
And it might turn out to be nothing. I kind of hope it does because I want Bob back.
Astros win the game, lead the series 3-2. Wow.
RJ Choppy, man.
RJ Choppy.
Brutal.
You basically cost the Rangers a chance to win the World Series.
They haven't won a game since he did that video.
0-3.
0-3.
How do you win this game? The whole bench is clear. You plunk whomever, right, for the Rangers who hit the 3-run home run. And then Altuve comes back in the 9th inning and hits a 3-run game-winning home run. Wow. You talk about clutch hitting.
This is a great series.
Amazing series.
This has been a great series.
Rangers closer sat up there too long. They had almost a 20-minute delay.
Is that what it was?
Sat there and bitched about it. Yeah.
No home team has won a game in this series. It heads back to Houston with the Astros now leading the Rangers 3-2. Wow. The now clear prohibitive favorite to win the World Series
is the Astros.
Has to be. Has to be.
Whew, man.
What a day.
What a day.
I'm alive, by the way. Okay.
That's good.
Here's what we're going to do. Paul Garrison
Breaking
joins
news,
us.
everybody.
Paul
John's
Garrison's going to join us on the other side. East Village time. San Diego State, Nevada tomorrow at 6. Our pregame coverage will begin at 4. We're going to get you ready for that game on the other side. Jim's back page is still ahead as well. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim.
Thanks for the super, JD Gaucho. He says,
man.
Today in 20. You're muted.
Yeah, but the computer's not.
No, I muted you. Don't worry about it.
Going over to air, Jim. We have to worry about it.
All right. JD Gaucho, thanks for the super buddy. He goes, today in 2018, Manny helps the Dodgers win the pennant versus the Brewers with a bunt single. We're on a Bellinger 2-run homer. Manny hits nice. Yes.
Well, hopefully we get to see Manny hit 296 again in NLCS.
That'd be great.
Right?
Thanks for the super, JD. Again, from JD Gaucho, it says Hader 3 shutout innings versus LA in Game 7 too.
Yeah, 6 years ago. That's the last time he was used.
Yeah, last time he was used in a Game 7.
3 innings. He hasn't gone more than 4 outs since, I don't think.
Unbelievable.
3 innings.
Thanks for the supers, man. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone, an absolute classic in Arlington, Texas, as the Astros have come from behind to beat the Rangers 5-4, thanks to a Jose Altuve 3-run home run in the top of the 9th inning. They have now taken a 3-2 series lead as they head back to Houston for Game 6. Game 4, Phillies and D-backs in Arizona right now. Phillies lead that series 2-1, but that game is now currently scoreless as we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning there. And tomorrow, San Diego State takes on Nevada, Snapdragon Stadium, 6 p.m. kickoff. Our pregame coverage starts at 4 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right, Jon and Jim back with you. It is a Friday afternoon. We have Aztec football for you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. San Diego State, Nevada. Pregame coverage at 4. Kickoff 6 p.m. Always good to catch up with Paul Garrison.
Before we get to Paul,
What do you have?
so you're washing down your EKG test with a Diet Coke.
Correct. Is that bad? I just feel like I need something to just relax.
So you go Diet Coke route?
Yeah. Is the Diet Coke going to kill me? Am I going to have a heart attack because of a Diet Coke? Is there any scientific
No, but
evidence?
you might think that you're having a heart attack because of the Diet Coke.
You are so easy. I could literally convince John that drinking one Diet Coke a day will like take
I don't
8
like
years off
drinking
his
it
life.
because I know it's bad for me, but I know after here's the thing, and Paul, maybe you missed it. Maybe I went to urgent care because I had chest pain,
so you could drink Diet
and
Cokes.
Jim was making fun of me. But
I
like,
was
what if I
not.
would have died?
I was not making fun of you.
You were like, you better die if you're going there.
I said there better be something. I said there better be something wrong with you, and there wasn't.
Paul Garrison, East Village Times. What do you do, Paul? You have chest pain. You have children. You're right. Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely, better safe than sorry. But every good friend will make sure you're okay and then make fun of you afterwards. Completely get it.
He made fun of me before. Okay.
Oh, well, so that's different.
Paul,
I said just suck it up, be a man.
All right, so Paul, you were in Hawaii. Hope you enjoyed your trip. You saw San Diego State come from behind to win 41-34. Do you feel like San Diego State's unlocking something on offense here? 2 of the last 3 games they've been productive. Boise State at home, this past weekend at Hawaii. What are you seeing from the offense right now?
I think that's the hope. Earlier they had played some of the best defenses in college football. And it seems like the teams that they played that were, the really high rankings, we're talking top 10, top 15 defenses, they didn't play well against. But then every other defense, even including like Oregon State, who's top 45, San Diego State was able to move the ball, wasn't able to finish a couple of drives that could have maybe made that game a little bit more competitive. But I thought that San Diego State played a really good game on last Saturday. I think they did what they intended to do. I think they, would have liked to run the ball a little bit better. At the same time, they got so many short fields, especially in the fourth quarter, because of their defense, and they were able to pound the ball on the ground and score touchdowns. So I think that they should have some confidence, and they have a good opportunity against Nevada that hasn't been able to stop anybody this year.
When you look at the defensive side of the ball here, we talked last week, hey, the expectations for them, maybe that's just not who they are as far as like being a dominant defense anymore this year, especially. It's like almost they need to pick their spots and make a couple plays, but overall the defense this year has been pretty underwhelming, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think another way to frame that is that, when Rocky Long was leading the defense, he used to talk about that the 3-3-5 is risk reward, that you might give up big plays because you are putting your corners, your safeties on islands, and if they can't make a play, then the offense is going to be able to score or get a lot of yards. But you flip that and you risk those big plays if to put your defense in a position to make big plays of their own. And so I think you look at Hawaii, where Hawaii scores a lot of points as well, and they gave up over 400 yards passing, but like the 300 of those yards came on like 11 receptions, and then they had they threw it so many times that the rest of the yardage came on a lot more plays, and they were willing to give up those big plays. I mean, obviously they don't want to give them up, but they were able to make big plays of their own. They had a pick six. They had 2 fumbles that set up. So if you look at 34 points that the team gave up, but then the defense also was able to set up 21 points for the Aztecs to score, maybe the performance doesn't look as good statistically, but I think it turned out to be a pretty good performance for them last week that hopefully they can build on.
What is interesting, and to your point, they've given up some big plays. So there have been some short drives against San Diego State, if we're being honest, this year. But offensively, Paul, as you know, they've had games where they hold it for 35, 36 minutes like they did this past weekend against Hawaii. And I feel like one of the ways they did it this past weekend is they were balanced, right? They ran it for over 150 yards. Will they be able to do it again? They have not been able to really establish the ground game much this year. Will they be able to do it again this weekend against Nevada?
I mean, that's going to be they're going to try, of course. Nevada, I think they give up about 150 yards a game, but it'll be every game is a game of styles, and I think that in establishing the run, even if you don't get the big plays that you're hoping for, Cam Davis got 25 yards in the fourth quarter. I think that was like the biggest run by the running backs, but I think that as long as you keep doing that, I think it puts Jalen Mayden in the passing game in his like most successful area. Jalen Mayden only had 6 incompletes this past Saturday, and I think it was because because Hawaii knew they had to stack the box because San Diego State was so dedicated to the run. And then late, because again they're inside, they stack the box. One guy slips and falls, and Mekhi Shaw gets a 69-yard touchdown. And so I think that the offense, as a run-first offense, really fits what Jalen Mayden does best, allows him to be in the play action. And so absolutely, I think they're going to try to establish the run. And if they're able to do that and maybe break a big run, I think, you could see them, beating the spread, the 2-touchdown spread against Nevada on Saturday.
If they win tomorrow, 4-4 on the year, is that kind of where we should have all expected them to be after 8 games, just with the tough schedule that they had? I know there's been a lot talked about this team as being like a disappointing season, but as you told us a week ago, like maybe it's not a good idea to put these expectations on the team because maybe they're just not who you want them to be, and we should just kind of look at them as who they are. And 4-4 kind of feels like right for them, right?
I think that's right. And I think there's a difference between, when a season starts and you are hoping that they can get to and be better than maybe what you're seeing in front of you, right? I mean, it's not, nothing's ever written in stone prior to the year. But they have won every game that they've been favored, and they've lost and they've won every game they've been favored, and they've lost every game that they've been favored. And so, this is 8 weeks in. This team is what it is. And I think if they are going into their second bye at 500 after losing 4 games and not checking it in, remaining tough and bouncing back, they go into the last part of their season with the opportunity to improve and to be better than what they've had. But as far as expectations, I mean, the reality is they have been bowl eligible for 13 straight years. This is a program that teams, that fans, people around the country believe and expect to be able to be better than just going to a bowl. And I think that they are, for better or worse, they're going to be victims of their own success. And, it beats the other route where nobody thinks you're any good. But I think the expectation and the belief is that San Diego State can be so much better. And of course, you step into Snapdragon Stadium and you've had 2 seasons where that haven't just been gangbusters. The basketball team goes to the national championship game. And so there's all of this momentum and this belief around the program. Academically, they just got, the state of California just allowed them to give independent doctoral programs, and there's so much momentum surrounding the university. And I think those expectations are going to be there, and they just have to figure out how to meet them and exceed them.
Paul, we always appreciate it. We're looking forward to tomorrow. Aztecs got to win it. Nevada has not won this year. San Diego State needs to win it to get to 500, give themselves a realistic shot to get to a bowl game here in 2023. Always appreciate your time and your coverage in the East Village Times. And let's do it again when San Diego State gets back on the field in 2 weeks.
Appreciate it, man. I hope you feel better, and 2 Diet Cokes will do you good.
appreciate
fine.
it. I feel fine.
He asked
on
me
the other side of this, life or death situation that I was in, which was just I had chest pain and I went to urgent care. I feel fine.
You just asked me, does this Diet Coke have any caffeine in it?
I didn't know Diet Coke had caffeine in it. Brent, did you know that?
Yes.
John, it's a Coke.
Coke has caffeine?
Yes, it has a lot of caffeine.
It doesn't say anywhere like
Let me see.
caffeine.
If it doesn't say that it's not in there, John, it's in there.
Yeah, it's bro.
It'll say like caffeine-free, sugar-free.
I'm off caffeine from now on, even though I'm drinking it right now.
All right, it says right here. It says carbonated water, caramel color.
Oh yeah,
something.
I know.
Caffeine. It has citric acid, natural flavors, potassium,
Did it say caffeine?
benzenate, and caffeine. Yeah. Caffeine content, 46 milligrams.
See, and then JD Gaucho makes a good point in the chat, says chest pain could also come from heavy or constant lifting. And when you think about me, and
here we go.
it's all a possibility.
Yeah.
All the
'cause
powerlifting you do.
you had a perfect joke there lined up. I gave it to you on a tee and you didn't take it.
Which was?
Because I've been lifting the show for the last 2 years.
I love that.
There you go.
I do like that a lot. You lifted the show today, though.
I did. I put that thing on my back and I carried it all the way.
This was quite
to
a
the
day.
mountaintop.
I could have just not gone to urgent care
Yeah.
and had a very simple day, but I could have died. In my head, I thought I would have died. It turns out the doctor said it was fine. There's nothing wrong with me at all.
Oh my gosh.
But again, safe than sorry stuff.
Yes, John. Safe than sorry.
I'm sure Aaron would want you to go if you have chest pain, or maybe she'd be like, it's other fish. In the
Aaron's
sea.
like that with our dog Bentley. Whenever
Right.
whenever Bentley has a little bit of an issue,
She races over
straight
the
to the
vet.
vet. And I understand that. It's like her child. But you're like an adult.
I am not like an adult. I am an adult.
You're like an adult.
Jim's back page next. All right, on the other side, Jim's back page plus an update on the NLCS next. All right, back here, Jon and Jim, a final time. It's been a very long show for Jim and Brent. I've been here for 40 minutes. Okay, by the way, join us tomorrow. Pregame coverage, March to kickoff. It's me and Jim outside Snapdragon Stadium. You got to turn your mic on. 4 p.m. pregame coverage, 6 o'clock kick time, San Diego State and Nevada. Jim's telling me he just retweeted something, but I don't follow Jim's retweets. I've literally turned them off because he's super annoying with his retweets. So I can go to your account and see what you've tweeted. So Jim Russell, we'll get to his back page in a second. Oh, interesting. At the brand reveal for San Diego FC.
This is from Two Balls and a Mic podcast.
Right.
Shout out.
They do a very nice job. By the way, I've been listening, guys. I've been listening. Sometimes I'm driving back from like calling games, or I've been listening. So good job, guys. Yeah, on the like signage to get to the festival, brand reveal festival, on the signage, it has the logo for San Diego FC. Look at this, Brent.
So wait, they just ruined the. So if the logo wasn't released yesterday, they just
would have been released anyway.
Would have been ruined there. I mean, what are we doing?
Are we sure that wasn't like put up there, like taped by someone? Because now anyone could have printed this out.
It looks like no, that does not look like a sticker or something.
Okay, all right, but well, again, I guess it's official then.
Well, it's official, and it's a massive swing and a miss. I talked about it a lot today.
Yeah, I know. I heard.
I mean, you were so upset about it.
No, I wasn't. You heard me yesterday. I wasn't. Here's the thing. I go back to, I think they could have done better. And maybe that's always the case with logo work. But now that I've had more time to digest it, the more I think they could have done better. There's been so many examples on social media of people coming up with ideas from there's been some incredible ideas like that I've seen on social media. You retweeted some of them or posted them, right? What people have come up with very quickly.
Yeah.
Some well thought out, some in just seconds with AI. And I've seen some amazing logo and design work. And then I've seen this and I'm like, wow, I look at what other people have come up with. I wish they would have gone down some of those routes as opposed to this. This to me doesn't speak to San Diego. That's my point.
It doesn't. And then putting the logo on hey, come over here to our reveal. Dude, you've already revealed it. So if this never got leaked yesterday, then it would have been
leaked a couple
people
hours
would have been
early.
posting that what the hell is that it?
Is it possible that this is just one of a series of logos?
I doubt it.
That's what I was wondering today. Seriously.
There's going to be a number of different kits
but they're not announcing that, right?
No. Just the brand and the
color
crest and the color.
Okay. And the name, San Diego FC.
San Diego FC. Yeah. Well, the cat's out of the bag. There's no suspense here. There's no surprise, nothing.
Listen, I really hope they succeed. I think San Diego is obviously a brilliant soccer market. I think this town has been waiting for Major League Soccer for a long period of time. I think they've had soccer successes with the Wave and the Loyal. I really hope they succeed. Logos won't make or break a franchise. And I hope they maybe learn from it and potentially come up with some alternate marks that do a better job representing the community in which they're part of. I think that's fair. Do we have time for the back page? Not really. Just give me one thing without doing the back page. Would you agree? Do we need the back page open? Do you want it, Brent?
Taco Bell is doing new chicken nuggets. And they're
Taco Bell. Did they ever have them previously?
They're only testing them in one city.
Is it San Diego?
It's not. It's in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Okay.
Chicken nuggets. Is that weird to you guys?
A little
crispy chicken nuggets. Taco Bell. It's a new update.
Okay.
I guess they do fries. So
okay.
It's white meat nuggets, which are marinated in jalapeno spiced buttermilk.
Okay.
Or being fried and served with a choice of two sauces: a signature Bell sauce for dipping, or a jalapeno flavored honey mustard.
Okay. You can give us one more story if you'd like.
Okay. Hold on. Stand by. You want 5 San Diego area donut shops to visit with fall flavors?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can go to Devil's Donut Shop, downtown San Diego. You can get a vanilla glazed pumpkin cheesecake filled vanilla glazed pumpkin cheesecake. There's 2 different ones. So we get a vanilla glazed pumpkin cheesecake donut. You can get a vanilla glazed walnut crumble cheesecake donut.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a blueberry apple compote filled blueberry apple donut. You can also get a pumpkin spice old fashioned cream donut and a sweet potato pie glazed donut from Devil's Donut Shop off of Kettner Boulevard. Nomad's Donuts. You've heard of that before, right?
I have.
You can get a pink panna cotta donut. You can get a mole and plantain donut. You can get a pumpkin
Where
old fashioned donut. You can get a Strupel waffle donut. That's all I got.
All right. If you missed anything today, I was at urgent care. Jim had most of the show, along with Brent. If you missed it, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on YouTube. Search for Jon and Jim 760. Find us on social media. We've got a lot for you there. At Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. Join us tomorrow, 6 o'clock, San Diego State and Nevada from Snapdragon Stadium. We'll be outside with our March to Kickoff, me and Jim, beginning at 4 p.m. For Brent and Jim, I'm Jon. Keep it here. It's San Diego Sports 760.
Oh, I got bit. Am I dying?
I'm fine.
Am I turning into Spider-Man?
I'm fine.
Look at this bite, dude.
Okay.